So the project started. Can pull the engine out of my '08 Silverado. It's a 5.3 and it's got the dreaded DOD, about 105,000 miles on this thing. And it's not if but when those lifters are gonna give up. So my friend Matt offered to let me use his garage, his shop, to do this, which is like a thank you, Matt. He's busy being a dad these days and doesn't have as much time for his projects that he's done over the years. So it's begun. Hung the hood up, got the battery disconnected. Gonna pull the radiator fans, radiator hoses. Then I gotta get back down there and yank out those bell housing and transmission torque converter bolts. Figure out how to get down into that motor mounts, kind of buried under heat shields, looks like. Of course, I'm not gonna bother taking all the loom off. I think I'm just going to pull the main pigtail right out of the fuse box in the ECM. I think everything else, well, a few things besides radiator hoses, coolant hoses, vacuum hose. So get after it. So this is my 2008 Silverado 1500 DOD delete. And I was struggling a little bit how to get the transmission bell housing bolts out. I was even considering for a minute just pulling the transmission with the engine, except you just about got to pull it out vertically, and you got to make sure you have a jack that has enough capacity for both of them and can lift it high enough. I don't know if I have either. So another website, AI said, just pull the intake manifold. I was going to pull that with the engine. So I yanked the intake manifold. The top center one's easy enough to get out. It comes with a bracket. So you got to take the 13 millimeter nut off, get the bracket off, then the 15 millimeter bolt. All the transmission bolts are stud type. The first two here are easy to get. They don't have anything on the stud sticking out, but you need a deep well, of course. And then the center top one, that's pretty easy to get, just with an open end box wrench. And then the one to the driver's side of center, well, that one's a little tougher to get because it's got the bracket for the fuel line coming up. So you got to get that off. That gets off. That comes off okay. And then the one to the passenger side of center, well, actually the one to the passenger side of center, there was no bolt in there. No bolt in the hole. So the next one over, which is down a little bit, it has the transmission dipstick tube bracket, but the dipstick tube has a C shape, and so you can pull it to the passenger side and it'll come off the stud so you can get a box end wrench on. And then I had the box end wrench coming up here and then a second one on it, because at 67 my flimsy arms can't break these things loose with just a box end wrench without a cheater on it. And then the one below that, it's just above the starter. Yeah, that one was a bear. I had to get several extensions, a wibble wobble, stick it up through just to the passenger side of the catalytic converter, and I was able to break it loose and pull it out. I don't know how I'm going to get it back in. Hey, there's one missing here. Maybe I can just leave that one out. So there's one just above the starter, the one down here below the end of the head that the transmission dipstick tube is on. So it's 1, 2. Number 3 was missing. Number 4 is the top one. And then on this side, the 1, 2 on this is easy to get. And then the one that's under the fuel line bracket isn't too bad. So 1, 2, 3. Middle one is number 4. Coming from that side, there's 1, 2, 3, and the middle one's 4. So there are 7 bolts total, except this one was missing one. I'll probably find one and put it in there just for good measure. So I'm ready to pull this out of here. Maybe the next section will just be a time lapse of this thing coming out of here. Okay, so it's out of there. And I don't know, kind of messy in here. Maybe I'll see if Matt will let me push it out into the yard and power wash it off a little bit. Get rid of some of the oily stuff down here anyway. Just trying to think how I could load this in my son's, Joel's pickup truck and take it to plant services and power wash it off. Anyway, got everything apart with only breaking one bolt. I on the driver's side manifold broke one of the heat shield. They're like 1/4 inch 6mm bolts. I think I can maybe fix that, drill it out maybe. So I was real concerned that these manifolds would not want to come off there, but actually they weren't too bad. So next thing is to put the starter back on, pull the plugs, and I'm going to do a compression test on this. Make sure everything's good. It runs good, and I don't have any suspicion that that there's any compression problem, but I thought I'd check it. It's kind of easy to do with it out like this. So that's the next step. Also, one more thing on these transmission bell housing bolts. Get up on my stool here. So there's 2 way down at the bottom that go into the oil pan. Then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 to coming up the driver's side. Then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, total of 7. But there was no bolt in that one because the 5.3 liter engine doesn't have a place to put a bolt in right there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 to the top. And over here there's 1, 2, no, number 3 on that side. So there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts, plus the 2 bigger ones into the oil pan. Also, there was this thing bolted here to the back I think it was sticking up here somewhere. That pin was stuck in that hole, I think. No. It's kind of sticking up here somehow. Is that stuck in that hole? Like that. What is it? What's it for? Should I put it back on or leave it off? So I got the engine out, pulled the DOD lifter valley tray off. Show you that. Way too complicated. Crazy. These are all oil passages. Of course, the electronic feed through. That's where the pressure gauge goes on that tower. But in the side of the tower, there's a port that goes down and feeds oil to all these passages. That feeds oil in and feeds all the solenoids here that bolt to the top of the, or to the bottom of this thing. And then that feeds oil through. And crazy thing is, in the tower is this very, very fine screen. So if your oil gets sludgy, well, you're not going to get any oil flow or inadequate oil flow through to the solenoids that activate the DOD lifters. And if one screen isn't bad enough, each of these ports that feed a solenoid, I think, has a little tiny, well, this is another screen. Goes in there. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And this thing, I think, is even finer. And it's a little tiny thing. You can't even, I mean, that screen is maybe an 1/8 inch across and the hole out the back. I mean, is that gonna sludge up? And I don't know, maybe if this doesn't plug up, the solenoid's gonna plug up. Because then the solenoid feeds oil from there over to, I don't know, the holes. Feeds oil into the 2 holes that feed the DOD lifters. So, number 1, uh, 3, 5, 7. So 1, and 7 are DOD cylinders. Then 4 and 6 on that bank are the DOD cylinders. So I did a compression test before I pulled this all apart. And 1, 4, and 6 were like 150 and all the others are 180. So Matt was saying, is it coincidental that 3 of the 4 DOD cylinders were down a little bit, 15-16% lower than the non-DOD and the back number 7? I don't know. Lobes look pretty good. So what is that? The exhaust lobe right there for number 1. In the top of that looks okay. And we'll roll this thing over. I hope this stays in focus. And we'll see. Oh no. The lobe then for intake on number 1. You know, when we get that camshaft out of there, we'll check. They look pretty good from this vantage point. We'll measure those, see how they look. And then number 7 back here. Let's see, I don't know, we can see number 8, but here, right here is number 7. 7 pumped up pretty good. 7 was up to like 180 with the rest of them. That's number 8. Exhaust. I guess I could put his micrometer on this thing and roll it over and see what those are, but I'm going to take it out anyway. There's number 7. I don't know. To me, my micrometer, it doesn't look any different than number 1, so we'll see if that's the problem. Anyway, I'm going to pull the valve trains off, rocker arms, push rods, pull the heads off, pull the front cover off, pull the timing chain and oil pump. To pull the oil pump, I got to pull the oil pan off. We'll see what we find in there. No, oil pan doesn't look too bad. I'll have to take the windage tray out of there to see how bad the gunk is out in there. Not too thick. Don't see any glitter. That's good. Not too bad for 110,000 miles. Pickup tube has one, what is that? Maybe a piece of, might be a piece of silicone or a fragment of plastic. I noticed the DOD solenoids are on a really hard, almost Bakelite plastic that seemed to be real fragile. So, oil pump, I'm going to replace it. It's upside down, you know. So you got to take the pan off in order to get to this bolt. And one guy I was watching, he managed to get that out of there with a magnet from just the front cover. And then to get it back in, he got in there with a grinder and somehow cut the weld here. I don't even see it. Knowing me, I'd cut through that tube, and then he would take the flange, it's just a one-sided flange, he'd rotate it around and use that to bolt the tube back on. Besides, the other thing on this is in the oil pan, there's this relief valve that's part of the DOD system that I'm going to plug it up so that if that relief valve goes bad, then you lose all your oil pressure. Looks like I need to replace a couple of, well, this gasket, oil pan gasket, it's riveted on 1, 2 places. So I'll have to drill those rivets out to get that, to replace that pan. Well, I'm going to pull a camshaft, the old one, out, see what kind of shape it's in. All the lifters are pretty good, so I don't think there's going to be anything in here that's an issue. It's raining pretty good out, so don't mind the clatter on the been a while since I pulled the cam out, so these bearings feel pretty stiff. Pretty tight. So I don't know. They sure look fine. It seems a waste to pull a real perfectly good part out, but I suppose I could have bought 8 regular lifters and thrown them back in on top of this cam. Sure looks clean. Don't suppose there's a market for stock DOD camshaft. Yeah, I don't know. It was number 1. Compression was poor on number 1 here. Lobes sure look fine. You have a wear mark right down the center. They all look about the same. Notice one lifter had a score mark, but I don't see any problems with any of these lobes. All the main bearings look fine. All right, well, throw away a good part. And to align the oil pump. I stuck a 025 shim in the bottom and a 002 in the top, and then I snugged down and torqued the 4 bolts. And this is a 001.5, and of course it fits in there easily where the other ones aren't already in there. Nice. And then I'll pull that out of there, hopefully. Otherwise I'll be, well, not with these. Well, come on. There's the, that's the 0.02. See if this one will come out. Oh yeah, it's the 025. Of course, then this is sloppy in there, right? Well, not very. Anyway, I'm gonna oil the heck out of it. One way is to pull this gallery bolt, and Melling says put a 3/8 inch hose in there and fill this thing all the way up. Of course, I still need to get my pickup tube tightened down, and this will be ready to go. Button it up.